Hey, so I am actually on location in Orlando, Florida, and I'm gonna just brought some of my work with me as I usually do. This is a combination vacation and work trip. I have a client that I'm gonna be seeing while I'm down here, but I brought some of my instruments with me. This is the Capnotrainer, and it does CO2 biofeedback, and it says on it, an educational instrument for better breathing and heart wave training. Now this is the model that I have. There's actually a new model coming out, which I will do another video with it as soon as I get my hands on it. So and you can see artwork behind me. I'm going to be blocking it some, but I just want you to get a good look at it. I think it's a sunflower. So the Capnotrainer measures the CO2 that's in the air that we breathe out through our nostrils. In biofeedback, we often are doing respiration training or respiration biofeedback, where we use a belt that goes around the abdomen or the chest, and it stretches as a person inhales and exhales, and that gives us an idea of some of the mechanics of breathing, how a person is breathing, how deeply they're breathing, how fast they're breathing, and so on. It tells us nothing about the CO2 content in the air that they're breathing, and that can be more important than the mechanics, because the amount of CO2 in the air is also going to be a reflection of how the body is able to use the oxygen that is in the body. And so if there's not the right amount of CO2, then the body is not able to use the oxygen that is present as well. It's much more complicated than that, but that's my simple explanation of it. We have ways to help you learn much more of the science of it, and if you're interested, let me know. You can also go to our website, biofeedbackinternational.com, and there's information there where you can select to get different levels of training in breathing physiology and so on. So I'm going to just do this demonstration. This is a cannula, nasal cannula, that connects to the instrument. I'm going to put that on. So these two pieces go to the nostrils, like so, and it's kind of convenient to just loop that over your ears to keep it in place. There's a little thing here you can kind of pull up, almost like one of those things that would be on your hat to keep your hat on. And again, this tube is actually the one that's connected to me, is disposable. You throw those away, but then it feeds into a reusable tube that then goes into the Capnotrainer, and that is then connected to the computer through a USB cable. So next thing I'm going to do is show you the screen, the software. So when I breathe, inhaling and then exhaling through the nostrils, then it's able to pick up the CO2 information. So now I'm going to just flip around here and show you the screen. Okay, so we're going to start. I'm going to select the client, which is going to be me. Select, run session, and start. If you hear some noise there, that's the small motor that's in the Capnotrainer, and it takes a little while to warm up, but that's what's actually working to bring in the air that I breathe out through my nostrils and then measure the amount of CO2 that's in there. So it's warming up, and it shortly will be finished warming up, but I can go right to a display here, and you can see that even while I was talking, it was measuring the CO2. So this line will go up as I exhale, down when I inhale. This line here is a goal line, which is set at 35. The threshold is 35, and you can see that at the top of the screen there. Let me just zoom in there for a second. That tells us that the threshold is 35, and it will show us the CO2 in millimeters of mercury there, and then over here it will show breaths per minute. Alright, so we usually just mainly work with the graph, so I'm just going to zoom in on, or just zoom out I should say, so you can see the whole screen, and we'll be focused on the graph. Alright, so of course while I'm talking you can't really see the proper feedback. I'm going to go ahead and do some breathing for a couple of minutes here. And now here I'm going to start recording. Okay, so it is recording now. So let's start the screen over, and basically what I want to see is that when this goes, when the graph goes up, I want it to meet the threshold line and maybe even go over a little bit. So we want to get, say, between 35 to 40. And I'm going to go ahead and start doing some breathing and see how I do. Okay, so you can see that I have been crossing the line there, so I am meeting the threshold or goal. My breathing rate was between about 6.5 and it went down to about 4.5, which is a little slower than I normally do, but usually I'm closer to 6. But you can see how when I have the longer breaths, it gives the CO2 a chance to build up a bit more. Now I'm going to breathe at a faster rate and see if I am still meeting the goal or not. So you can see that that breathing rate was closer to 10, 9.7, and you can see I wasn't quite hitting the goal there. It was a little bit lower, close, but a little bit lower. And now I'm going to go to a different screen here. So now we have a range here, and we want to be within that range, you could say. So there you can see I was able to stay in the range. If we go to the bottom of the screen here, this graph on the left is showing CO2 over time. So bar graphs for the averages that are constantly being updated. And then over here we have breaths per minute with this graph on the right. So we can keep track of both of those. I'll zoom back out here. Hearing some thunder. Looks like we're getting a thunderstorm coming in. I am not plugged in. I'm running off a battery, so I should be fine. Let's see what else we got here that I want to show. So this is something that we can do. This is a breathing pacer set at 6 breaths a minute, and then down here you have the CO2, so you can see at different rates how the person does when they're following the pacer. I'll just try to follow the pacer now. So that was following the pacer there. And this is a similar screen with the pacer, and it just has the CO2 graph at the top, and then the averages, running averages for CO2 and breaths per minute on the bottom. So we can do the same thing on this screen. Just gives us more information. Okay. So I'm gonna keep going on this. I have another 8.5 minutes to go on the training, and then I'd be able to save the data and look at it so I can see what how I did during the session. Of course, during this session, probably not going to be great because I was talking and so on, and not just training the whole time. So I will pause this recording, and I'll just show you the results at the end. See you in a bit. Okay, so I finished the session and now I'm at the point where I can save the data. You see my name there. I can select which signals I want to save. I'm just going to keep them all. And then I go to save to database. It saves it. I can close this. And if I want to take a look, I can go to manage data. And this is the recording I just did. View it. And that's the graph of what I did. So you can see the difference between when I was talking and when I was actually focused on the breathing. Alright, so that's the CO2. These are the averages for the CO2 and the breaths per minute. If we want to do a report, let's see if that works. Generate report. And I can include client information, graphs, numerical data, event notes, split by task, and then the average interval. So let's do a quick report. Let's see what we get. Alright, so there we have it. This is our client information, that's the graph. And then if we want to go to the next page, then we can see our data. So that's our data. Those were the thresholds, so you could see how you did against the threshold throughout. And you can see your breaths per minute, and so on. Alright, so that's a quick look at the Capnotrainer. We're done. Take this out. Of course, this part gets thrown away. You just unplug it from here. This part gets thrown away, and you get a new one for the next person that you're going to work with. So again, this is a device that helps you to get feedback on the actual CO2, not just looking at mechanics of breathing in terms of whether your belly is moving when you're inhaling and exhaling. It's a different level of training breathing. And this is something that can be done by someone who is a healthcare professional, but it doesn't have to be done by a healthcare professional. People like yoga instructors and educators and people who are into teaching relaxation or breath work, or other people who would want to teach someone about their breathing can use this. So we're going to actually be doing a lot more with this. We have carried the Capnotrainer for years, but we are going to be getting more heavily into it and into some of the applications outside of the traditional biofeedback applications. So watch for that. And again, you can look at our website and see the opportunities for learning more about use of Capnotrainer and breathing physiology and science. So hope to talk to you soon. If you have any questions, please feel free to give us a call at the office, 877-669-6463. If you're not in the U.S., you can call us at 914-762-4646 and also visit the website biofeedbackinternational.com. And if you haven't already, subscribe to our YouTube channel and check us out on Facebook too. See you next time.